Welcome, everyone. This is Andres Restart, and I am joined by my good friend, co-host, and occasional editor, Brandon. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great with these rumors we've been hearing. I've been getting hyped for Switch 2, and of course there's tons of other stuff with potentially a direct in 2 days. So this, so much to talk about, and we got even more topics.
There is a lot to talk about. Guys in the chat, we will be saying hello. We'll be starting the show off with a Q&A, as we always do. And for those who are new here, the general plan structure, but we're very loose about it, is open with Q&A and banter and nonsense. And then we transition to the topics, and we take small breaks between the topics, and then we close out with Q&A. That's the general plan. We have 5 topics to talk about tonight. Before I get into that, guys in the chat, if you could please let me know how everything looks and sounds. If there's anything that sounds off, please tell me now so I can work on that. I'm supposed to... There should be music playing in the background, but I don't hear it.
No, I don't hear anything. Maybe you have the desktop audio or whatever audio input it uses is set wrong.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay, I hear it now, but it's like super quiet.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Okay. Maybe it's too loud now.
It's still quiet for me.
All right, I have it at 100% now.
It seems fine.
All right, at this level, it sounds good to me. Yep. If it sounds good to you, if you guys can hear, if the music sounds good but it's not too loud, that I think, just let me know if it's a good balance. All right.
Charles seems to think it's perfect.
Perfect. Or Orlando says that they can hear it. Lex says it's quiet, but it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to be loud because the point is to hear us. But
Joe says he can't. It may not be audible on every setup too, depending on if you're using headphones or speakers.
It does depend on the audio setup. I could try playing a different track I have loaded on here instead. But I think I might just leave it at, well, let's see how this sounds. Let's see if this one sounds better. Give it a second to play. Anyway.
This is Donkey Kong?
This is Donkey Kong. This feels too loud now to me.
I mean, I can still hear you perfectly fine over it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but all right. So I changed it. Maybe it's a little bit more audible for you guys. It's different, but I'll play with the tracks later. Anyways, so these are planned topics. Again, let me know if this sounds okay. But the planned topics for the evening are news of a Zelda live action movie. The rumor. So take it with a grain of salt, but we'll be talking about that to open up with our topics once we get past the Q&A. And then we're going to be discussing potential Smash news. This one I want to talk about because a lot of people, maybe a lot's an exaggeration, but a few people in the comments in different videos over the last couple weeks have asked me why I haven't talked about this yet. There's a reason. There's a few reasons.
I haven't heard about this.
Well, we'll get into it. I ultimately decided it wasn't worth making a video on, especially with the Direct coming so soon. We'll get into more details on it, and I'll explain my perspective on it. But a big reason why I haven't made a video on it, or you haven't heard me talk about it, is because I was on vacation just for a little while. So I couldn't talk about all the current news. This week I have been back, so if you guys have been paying attention, every video has been kind of about something that's happened like within the last 24 hours.
A little more concurrent.
A little bit more, yeah. Now, after the Smash stuff, we're going to be talking about new Mario Kart soon. Now, that's me making a little bit of a leap, but we got an update on Mario Kart Tour, how that content is ending, which, yeah, so we'll talk about a little bit about that.
It kind of makes sense with DLC ending too.
Right, exactly. Well, let's save it. Let's save the topic. It's not going to be a long topic, Brandon. Let's not go too too in depth. We'll have like nothing else left to say.
I said one thought. That's the whole topic's done.
Pretty much, exactly. So let's be careful here. Let's keep our cards close. But then after that, we'll dive into the bigger topics because I've made like 3 like Switch 2 spec videos this week because things keep coming out about these tech demos that were shown at Gamescom. So big stuff there, really big information about Nintendo Switch 2. This is not overhype. This is not exaggeration. This is big stuff. And we're also going into our final Nintendo Direct predictions because we're assuming a Nintendo Direct is getting announced tomorrow for Wednesday. We could be wrong. So, be prepared for disappointment, but many of us believe it's happening soon. So this will be the official live podcast predictions cast pod. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And we'll probably do the topics in that order. Well, maybe I'll do direct predictions. We'll see. But the other 3 are definitely happening first. But that is the general plan for the evening. But how are you doing, Brandon? Are you doing well?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm tired. I had to go to work this morning. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I mean, I got enough. But I'm a little tired, but I got my Mountain Dew. It's been my savior, waking me up.
Okay.
But I am hyped, okay. Very hyped mainly for the Switch specs. Obviously, the other topics are interesting as well, and everybody loves a good Nintendo Direct, but Switch 2 is a big one for me. And I'm a huge tech guy, huge spec guy. I saw somebody in the chat. I forgot exactly who it was. But they were like, oh, I can't believe Nintendo people talking about specs. And I'm like, well, yep. I like specs. Specs are interesting because it means our Nintendo games can look and play and be even bigger than ever before.
Absolutely. Yeah. My take on like being a Nintendo fan and being excited about specs, like I think it's maybe a little bit of a misconception, and a lot of it just comes down to fanboy wars, which I think are largely immature and
if you
idiotic.
Want to put it up now, since we're already talking about it,
yeah.
It's from Taker's super chat actually.
Oh, okay.
That's why I saw it so easily.
Okay, well, I'll get to that. But yeah, like I think fanboy wars, hating on people for like, listen, man, they're all games. We're all nerds. We're all fans of this stuff. So like, we don't have to make fun of each other because we one likes one system more than the other. Like that's just
that's just dumb.
And I do think I haven't seen any chapter comments. I'm gonna get to that in a moment, but I just I think as a Nintendo fan, like we're still entitled to getting excited about specs. It's just we have a different standard. Like we still want our Nintendo games to look good. And I think most Nintendo fans play Nintendo because they like Nintendo games. It's not because I think the majority of Nintendo fans are Nintendo fans because of the games and the franchises, the IP, right? We're not fans of Nintendo. I'm sure some are, right? There's exceptions, but we're not fans of Nintendo because they like making wacky controllers and underpowered hardware, right? And we're also on the flip side, not a lot of Nintendo fans aren't like fans because they made super powerful like a Nintendo 64 like back in the day that was like a powerhouse, right? Like it's because of the games. Like that's the majority of us fans. So when I say that, like I still think we're allowed to get excited about visual enhancements and upgrades, even when the Nintendo Wii came out, which was maybe arguably the smallest jump we've ever seen for a Nintendo system ever, because it was literally only 2 times more powerful than the GameCube, which for a next generational leap, that's very, very small.
It's like basically the same architecture too, so it didn't really support hardly any new features or anything.
Yeah, the games are very similar from a visual perspective. They still managed to look better, but point is, like, even then we were excited about games finding ways to look better. Like I remember when Metroid Prime 3 came out, there was a lot of talk. It was like, oh, this looks like an Xbox 360 game, but
it looks much better than 2 and 1 for sure. The texture resolution's a lot higher. There's a lot more varied textures and more polygons. It just looks it looks better.
Yeah, and then Mario Galaxy like blew our minds, right? Like there were still games that we were impressed with, like, or whenever a third party like focused on the Wii and they were able to do something kind of cool, like Mad World, for example. Like just because the Wii was underpowered doesn't mean it wasn't still exciting to like see what the games could do. Like sometimes it's not even about how powerful it is; it's more about seeing what developers can do with the hardware they have, because that's impressive. Like it's that there's just something in that in of itself. It's appreciating what you're able to do with your limitations, right?
And something I love about seeing Switch third parties, because it really is rough trying to port a game made like late generation or even early generation for last gen systems to Switch. You pretty much have to like rethink the entire game from the ground up. So it's a lot of work, and it's interesting to see the kind of cutbacks and nips and tucks they do and different ways that they get it working on the Switch. For games like Doom and Doom Eternal and Witcher 3 and different things like
Yeah,
that, it's very, very interesting.
I need to play this game. There's what was it called? Alien Isolation on Switch. Like
Mm,
what they were able to do
that's a
with
great
that.
one.
Yeah, like that. It's just cool seeing what developers are able to do, because these are technical achievements, right? Like it's impressive. Even if it's not the best looking game ever made, what they're able to do with that hardware is impressive. It's a
Yeah.
technical feat. So there's a lot of reasons to still be excited about graphics and tech specs for a lot of different reasons, even if on Nintendo they tend to be less powerful than the competition. With that said, let's jump into the chat. Guys, if you could like the stream, I see we have almost 100 people watching right now, which is a great
Nice.
start.
Thank you,
If you
guys.
like the stream, it's super helpful for the podcast, for the show. I'd very much appreciate it. But let's do some Q&A for a few minutes, and then we'll get into the topics. So,
Cool.
all right. Let's see here. Let's first focus on some of the super chats and memberships, and then we'll get to the rest. All right.
Cool.
So, DW for Smash has renewed their membership, been a member for 7 straight months. Thank you for sticking around, buddy. Very much appreciated. Taker610, I think this is a super chat you were referring to earlier. Taker says, I can't believe we're Nintendo fans hyped on specs. And so,
yeah.
What's interesting about that, right, is that what we're hearing about the Switch 2 specs sound really impressive. And it does, in a way, almost feel like anti-Nintendo, just because as of recent generations, it feels like Nintendo doesn't do the most powerful thing.
Right.
And there's absolutely truth in that. But I also want to argue that you look at the Switch, and I think the Switch is actually is impressive. It just depends on your perspective. Like, for example,
it was the most powerful handheld out when it came out.
Exactly. Like, imagine as a jump from Wii U to Switch, it's only marginal. But if you imagine as a jump from 3DS to Switch, because the Switch is both a handheld and a home console, that's like an insane jump. Like, you're going from 240p to 1080p games. Like, well, maybe not every Switch game is 1080p. Maybe let's average it out to 720ish, right? Point is, you're going from
still max 1080p.
Like, you're going from sub TV resolutions, like tube television, which was 360.
You're going from N64 resolutions.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Massive jumps there. So if you were just a fan of Nintendo playing on 3DS, and then you got a Switch and you started playing Breath of the Wild, like, your mind must have been just blown to like Andromeda or something. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So it is insane, based off your perspective. But we're looking at Switch here, and based off what we're hearing of these specs, like we're talking about a sizable jump. But we'll get to that a little bit later into the show. Having Hope 5 has renewed their membership, been a member for 7 straight months as well. Thank you for sticking around, Having Hope. It's very much appreciated. And Having Hope says hello. Hey, y'all. How are you?
What's up?
Then Daniel Vargas with a super chat as well. Thank you for that super chat. Daniel says, Barman R2 hype for this week? Yes or no, gents?
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I don't really care. Like, it's not a bad game. It's just not like something I'm probably going to pick up.
Barman R.
Like, I never played Barman R, and it was like one of the only Switch launch titles. So
yeah, Barman R. Yeah, I didn't play it when it came out, but it was fun from what I heard. And then,
yeah, I'm sure it'd be a good game. I just don't personally care.
Was Barman R2 delayed? Because I see.
I don't know.
Oh no, okay. So the release date is September 12th, so it is coming out tomorrow.
Ah,
okay,
nice.
Barman fans rejoice! The game comes out tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe I'll. It's not that I dislike Barman. I just, I was playing Breath of the Wild.
So many games, so little time and money.
Yeah. I'll give it a look. I definitely thought about it back then. If it back then it was a different time. I was a little bit more conservative with my game purchases. I buy more games now. I'll give it a look. It's worth taking a look at. All right. So looking at the chat here, let's see what's going on. All right, I'm gonna focus on the ads at first, and then I'll.
There was one more membership renewal that I don't think you shouted out. From
I got
for Smash.
I got 4. I don't see any more. It's not popping up here for me. Oh no, DD1 for Smash. I got him. He was the first one. Yeah. So, anyways, where's my chat? Okay. So let's see here. Looking for some interesting questions. All right, Jean-Carl Adamy. Live action will not work Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda needs to be animated like Studio Ghibli. Well, I'll save that for the topic, but Studio Ghibli would be nice. All right, Ian Holt is asking, will there be Metroid Prime 4 at Nintendo Direct, do you think? I put Samus in the thumbnail. So I hope.
Some in the chat. They said, "Do we expect Metroid Prime 4 in the Direct?"
Yes.
Yeah. Do I expect it?
I just want to make it clear. My hesitance isn't me suggesting like it can't happen.
Right.
It's just more of the history of being burned, with not getting Metroid Prime 4 in the Direct. So I don't want to be like, guys, it's happening, right? Like I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to temper my expectations here.
Right.
I do gotta tell you though that I think we're at a point where if Prime 4 is not there, I'm gonna be disappointed. Like I'll probably still enjoy the Direct, but if Prime 4 is not there, I think part of me, I'm ready for Prime 4. I am so ready for Prime 4. I feel like it's time. Like there's no other big games left for Switch, so it's kind of like
that
we know of, right? So, but that also gets a little frustrating because we've been waiting on Prime 4 for so long that like it's kind of like, okay, Intel just pull something else out of left field instead of Prime 4, which is just kind of there. And what's perhaps more frustrating to me is because, and again, I think everyone watching but myself should take this with a grain of salt, right? But I have told you guys at one point I did hear from a source that Metroid Prime 4 is complete. So my perspective is Nintendo can absolutely show this game off if they so choose. They're just choosing not to. So that's my perspective, right? And you guys should all take that with a grain of salt. You don't know what my source is. Like I can't tell you. I just can't. And I could be wrong, right? So, but yeah, like I want to see Prime 4. I definitely want to see Prime 4. And really, I think it comes down to what Nintendo's plan is for Prime 4. If Nintendo's plan for Prime 4 is for it to be the last big game before Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, then it's 100% going to be in this Direct.
Yeah, probably a tease that will show like gameplay, but not like really no deep dive or like overview of the game. Probably, I would imagine they would save that for next year.
Are you speaking from the perspective of assuming that it's a Switch only title?
Oh, Switch only?
Like, let's assume it's a Switch only title coming out before Switch 2. So let's say by the end of this summer it comes out.
I mean, I think
for the record, Brandon and I both. I just want to clarify one other thing for those that may be confused. Both Brandon and I 98% believe Switch 2 comes out in the second half of next year at the latest. Obviously we could be wrong, but that's kind of like we're making the assumption that the Eurogamer and Video Games Chronicle reports are probably true. So
Eurogamer linked the Switch before, so why not link the Switch 2?
So we're operating under that assumption, right? And with that in mind, we assume that it's coming out in the second half. So Nintendo's going to have a plan.
October.
Right. So Nintendo's going to have a plan for the first half of the year that are games that won't be on Switch 2, right? It'll come out before. Prime 4 could be one of those games. So with that in mind, I think they would have to show it off in the Direct if that's what they plan for Prime 4, for it to come out before Switch. Do you agree with that? Or Switch 2?
I do agree with that. I mean, I think they could show it either way. I think they could do a smaller teaser where they just mostly just show like Samus and like some light stuff that's like 30 seconds. But even if they do plan on releasing it like in the first half of next year, I think it's just gonna be like a revealed trailer where we see like some gameplay, but not like everything the game's about, and they'll talk more about it later.
Yeah,
but we'll see more like a 2-minute trailer instead of a 30-second teaser.
Right. No, yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. I guess the distinction I'm trying to make is that if, let's say, it's going to be a cross-gen title where it comes out for Switch and Switch 2 sometime in the second half of next year,
right?
Nintendo doesn't have to show off Prime 4 during this Direct.
No.
And that's the difference.
If they want something big to hype up fans and just keep them waiting for things, showing off a teaser doesn't. You don't even have to say what system it's for.
You don't.
They could show whichever version they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Tears of the Kingdom trailers, right? Like
that's just PC footage for sure.
Right. So with that in mind, like they could show like just like the optimal Switch version, right?
Yeah.
Which still wouldn't be the Switch 2 version, right? It would still be lesser than that, but it'll still look really good. And they can tease that. I mean, especially if it's just a teaser that doesn't really showcase much. It's just kind of like more speculative imagery, a slight hit at gameplay. I'm thinking basically like that first teaser trailer for Tears of the Kingdom. Like if they show that kind of footage, which I actually hope it would be more than that. But if they give us that, like then
I think
it doesn't really tell you anything about.
Sorry, if it's not cross-gen, I think it would be more.
Yeah, it's probably more fair to think. I would say if we get a teaser, I feel like it should be more like the second Tears of the Kingdom teaser, where we actually do see like some gameplay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Right. Anyway, so to get back to the point, if Prime 4 is going to be a cross-gen title, I think there's a solid chance Nintendo could tease it in this Direct. If Prime 4 is coming, but not for sure. If Prime 4 is coming out before Switch 2, then it's absolutely going to be in this Direct. So, we'll see. Yeah. And we'll talk a bit more about this when we get to our predictions. So, Metroid is going to be part of it to some extent. Netweed09. Really, for the best game of the past decade, it's there for the taking for Prime 4. With Metroid intensity and lore practically guaranteed, should be a cakewalk. Yeah, I mean, Prime 4, I think, is going to be a really good game. Very good game.
Oh, yeah.
Just Cliff
Studios, so.
Yeah, Just Cliff says, if everything is somewhat true, next year will be exciting. This may be Nintendo's comeback to a decently powered machine. It's going to be a huge jump seeing the next Zelda and Mario on this hardware.
Yeah, I think the gap between the Switch, or the current Nintendo system and the weakest competition is going to be a lot smaller than usual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Botox Games, what's up, buddy? Shout outs. Botox says, can't wait to see what Monosoft will do with more powerful hardware. I was thinking the same thing earlier today. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. They're going to be one of the ones to look for.
100%. Lex added, Ryan said, his name is Andres, not Andre. Those are two different names. My name is Andres. Andres. There's no extra A. And there is an S. I don't get mad when people say Andre, but my name is Andres. That is true. Thank you. YouTube is censoring my comments. I just want one arena shooter on Nintendo. Just one. Well, maybe they'll put online play in a Prime 2 remaster if that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. I got another super chat. Thank you, Harry Myers, for the super chat. Harry Meyer says, Fire Emblem Genealogy, F-Zero GX, Princess Peach, DK. Are those predictions for the Direct?
I would assume so.
That I would, if that's the lineup for the Direct, I'd actually be pretty okay with that.
I mean, I think all
Yeah.
those games can appear.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, Princess Peach will
well-
probably shown off. Fire Emblem Genealogy's been rumored. F-Zero's
Yeah.
GX been rumored. Donkey Kong's been rumored. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. We'll get to the Direct leak stuff, kinda. I mean, we'll touch on it. There's a lot of room for debate for a lot of this.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoy the predictions. If that's the lineup, I'd be very happy with that. Taker610 with another super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Taker says or asks, is a Tears of the Kingdom Deluxe on Switch to a sure thing? I'm gonna say no. It is not a sure thing, but I do think it is a possible thing.
I doubt they'll do a re-release. I imagine they'll just do some kind of upgrade patch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the news of that Breath of the Wild tech demo, it definitely gets me excited to see what they could eventually do.
Yeah, I mean, if they can put all those features into the Breath of the Wild engine, it's the same engine.
They could do it for Tears of the Kingdom as well.
Yeah.
And, like, I've been dreaming about Breath of the Wild plus Tears of the Kingdom being at 60 frames per second. Like, this system can do that. And that would be very cool to see.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I never doubted it could. I mean, even the Switch versions that have the X2 variant, the Mario Kart chips, the ones that have better battery life, and the OLED, even the Lite, you can overclock them a lot because they're much more powerful chips. They're just being downclocked a lot. So you can get 60 FPS on those in Tears of the Kingdom. So it doesn't really surprise me that a next-gen Nintendo system can do the same. But the difference is, we're hearing a bit more, but we'll touch on that in a bit.
Yeah. Now, I guess this would be a decent time to touch on the, whatchamacallit, the whole, because there's another news piece that I don't actually have planned for the topics, maybe because it's not exciting, but did we talk about it last week? Anyways, what I was going to get to is the news of no Tears of the Kingdom DLC.
Right.
So basically, Aonuma, in an interview with Famitsu, said that there are no plans for DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. So they're already working on the next Zelda. They already have that in mind. That's what they're saying. So some people want to think that maybe it's a fake out. It could be a fake out. Maybe the plans can change later down the road. But that's what they're saying. I would love it if we watched this direct and they announced DLC anyway. That would be a hoot. But that's what they said. So I'm just going to kind of trust them.
Yeah.
However, I will point out that it's possible what they may be doing is positioning an expansion to Tears of the Kingdom that may even be treated as its own separate release that comes out early into the Switch 2 lifecycle alongside a graphics patch for Tears of the Kingdom that would be exclusive to Switch 2.
Right.
And that's maybe what this could be positioning, this news that we got of there being no DLC. That could be positioning that like a hard cutoff. I don't think that's the most likely outcome, though. Me being fully frank, I think the most likely outcome is that we're just going to have to wait for the next mainline Zelda. I think they're going to give us maybe something in between, like some spin-offs, 2D Zelda, maybe a quality remake or two.
Right.
But in terms of like brand new mainline Zelda content, I think they're just going into the next one, and I hope I'm wrong. But when they literally say we have no plans for DLC, I have no choice but to take them at their word if there's no evidence to the contrary.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I'm just like, nah, they're lying for sure. They're lying. But the more I think about it, I'm just like, do I really want DLC for Tears of the Kingdom? Like personally, I didn't really think. I don't want to say I didn't like Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't love Tears of the Kingdom, but at the same time, DLC, depending on which direction they go, if it's like a whole new area with like a whole bunch of new stuff to explore, could be like amazing, and it could really bring it around for me. But at the same time, I do kind of just want them to do something new, because we've had the Breath of the Wild style for, we've been, since 2017, but really since like 2014 when they first showed that off. So I'm ready for something new for Zelda, because Tears of the Kingdom honestly didn't feel new enough to me.
Yeah. I I'm higher on Tears of the Kingdom than you are, right? We've talked about this at nauseum already.
Right.
I do think, and I see some people in the chat that seem to agree with me. It would be nice to at least get like a master mode, and maybe
Yeah.
master mode doesn't count as new content being
Yeah, that can
added,
just be like
right?
a free update. That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily need to be like a paid DLC or anything.
Yeah, maybe we get like a nice free update, maybe with some sort of challenge mode, trial of the sword kind of thing. Like I'd appreciate that. I mean, ultimately, what I want is I just want something. I mean, you could never give me enough Zelda. Just first off, right? You can never give me enough. And Tears of the Kingdom is a large game. I guess just for me, and maybe this part of this is because I'm like I don't want to. I feel like I'm being cocky when I say I'm a Zelda expert, haha. But I am pretty good at Zelda, right? I played Breath of the Wild for hundreds of hours. Obviously, there's all the other Zeldas I've played in my life, and I'm pretty
Right.
decent at Tears of the Kingdom. And I only say that I'm not saying I'm one of those crazy people that do all those amazing mind-bending combos that you see on those YouTube shorts and stuff. But my point is that I'm an above-average player, and Tears of the Kingdom got easy for me fairly quick. I did struggle with the boss because I went in with no preparation, the final boss, but I only died once. So, how much of a struggle was it really?
Yeah, I don't think I
yeah.
died at all to the final boss.
But the thing is, there's
I
so many
barely
ways
brought
to
in
cheese.
any food either that actually healed them correctly.
There's just so many ways to cheese enemies and come up with combos and things. And basically, you have so much options. I kind of want something added to the game that forces me to use more of those options. Like I want more reason to think up of this genius master killing machine that I can't like that I actually need to beat something. Because right now I don't need those machines to do it. If I do it, it's for fun, and I do it sometimes. But I want to feel like I need to rely on building something amazing, and that's not the case. And you know, I want something to really push me, and that's not in the game right now. But of course, I'm an above average player. For some people, Tears of the Kingdom is more than enough challenge, right? Maybe it's just a curse of being someone who's played Zelda his entire life.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with all that.
I guess I could do a 3-heart run. Well, we did the
my problem is it's not about like anything having more health or doing more damage. It's about like new attack patterns that force me to do different things, right? So it's like if all the enemies play exactly the same, I know how to deal with them very easily.
Sure.
Whereas if they actually change up how the enemies function, that's something new.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it if they actually added more. I mean, what was cool about playing Tears of the Kingdom is it did remix a lot of the enemies, so coming at them, like adapting to the Tears of the Kingdom pace when being so used to Breath of the Wild was a nice shift, but eventually you do get used to it. So I would love it if they introduced something where they change that pace again. That would be cool, but I guess we'll see what they do. Anyways, I think it's now is a good time to jump into our first topic. Yes, I think now would be a good time. So, because we're talking about Zelda anyway, might as well continue talking about Zelda. And what we're talking about is Zelda live action. So, let's see. I think I had an article pulled up here. Actually, a couple. All right, so I don't know the track history here, but this is what people are saying. Maybe some of you in the chat can help to corroborate this. But there is this leaker that has a decent track record, according to my Nintendo news, that is saying that there's going to be a live-action Zelda movie. And the name of this leaker is My Time to Shine Hello. On Twitter, they said Universal developing a live-action Legend of Zelda movie. Now, hold on, right? Just hold on a second, Brandon. We're going to talk about this, but there's something else I want to point out. They noted that a Hollywood insider, Jeff Snyder, also said Nintendo and Universal putting a deal together to work on Zelda. So I went ahead and I checked that initial article, and I read the article, and part of the article, they said it's not Illumination. But I remember I remember thinking that we were believing it was Illumination back then, because we talked about this a few months ago when this came out. And I checked the comments of the article, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, if it's Illumination, blah blah blah, this and that." So I wonder if they edited the article to match up with this other report. So I don't know.
Usually they would say if they did.
Yeah,
a
it
good
feels like some
article.
inconsistencies here. I'm a little suspicious of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you want a live action Zelda movie? Because I don't. Not really.
I dropped it.
I mean, like, potentially maybe, but not over an animated one. That's for sure.
Well, so my perspective on this is that maybe. So you look, I mean, like Lord of the Rings, if they make it like Lord of the Rings, that would be amazing, right? If they make it like Game of Thrones, that would be amazing. If they make it like The Witcher 3, that would be amazing. Like those are, fantasy medieval-ish kind of series that have been adopted into movies, live action or live action TV pretty well. So I
Yeah.
think it can be done. And I'm coming off just watching the One Piece live action, and if I have any opportunity to talk about the One Piece live action, this is probably it on this channel. So, it's an anime, right? And historically speaking, all anime adaptations are not good. And I'm a huge One Piece fan. Huge One Piece fan. I'm currently in my third rewatch of the series. Okay, and this series is over 1,000 episodes. I have no problem. I love the series. It's great. I cosplayed as Luffy once. I would do it again. Big One Piece fan. And I was excited for the One Piece series because the Oda was involved, the creator of it. I thought they picked an amazing cast. It seemed like they had a budget behind this. And I watched the live action adaptation. A lot of people were hyped about this. Like I was on vacation, so like for like a week or like 9 or so days, like I saw a whole bunch of people hyping up the series on Netflix. And then I finally watched it this past week. And I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just being totally honest with you guys. I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed several parts. I love the cast. I love some decisions they made, but there were also a lot of moments where my face did this.
Ooh.
And I
no.
said, and I would utter mid-piece, like
Oof.
by myself, like no one else is in the house, right? Like when I've been watching this, I've been alone, just watching, and I have to say it out loud because there were moments that were cringe. There were just moments that were cringe. Overall, I think it's a good show. It's worth watching, and I am a little bit tougher to please when it comes to live action in general. Like there's a lot of Netflix series that I kind of feel they're always a little cringe. And I'm like, that wasn't good acting. That ruined my immersion. And with One Piece, they try to be a little bit more fanciful. It's not trying to be super serious. It's a kind of a weird thing because there'll be some very like gory moments, which are kind of unexpected, but there are other points that are very comical and toon-like. So I guess they're trying to, maybe their excuse for not having like really realistic, good acting moments or that. Point is, I think the cast is solid. Some lines are a little awkward. The flashback scenes, I thought, like, I liked the idea of them, but I thought the acting with the children was just bad. Just bad. It ruined it for me. They didn't ruin it for me. It just, it hurt it for me. Right. Anyways, I bring that all up to say that adapting things into live action is not easy. It's not easy. Anime is very hard, right? So it's a different beast. Anime versus video game. Like with video game, you have a lot more license and freedom. You can create a whole new story. It's very different. So a video game has a much better chance of transitioning into live action than an anime does. So I do think that if Nintendo agrees to do this with Universal, it's because they have full confidence that they can get it done. And I will say, when we heard about the Mario Bros. Movie, everyone had doubt that would be good. And it came out, and it was good. From a critical acclaim perspective, it was not. But I also just don't agree with critics because it's not that just not what it's not supposed to be like this incredible stirring story, an allegory upon life, and like that's just not what it is, right? It's a fun roller coaster joyride, and it did that perfectly. So Nintendo knew what they were doing in the Mario movie, and they executed to a T. I don't really have reason to think that they would do poorly with the Zelda movie. Nintendo, over the decades, has been very cautious about going into movies because they care so much about how they represent their IP. They do not want to mar them with a bad TV series or movie series that is cringe. So if they're agreeing to do this, it's because they have reason to believe it's going to happen. And actually, going back to the development of the Mario movie, there are multiple points where we heard from like interviews and stuff that its execution, it actually coming out was in question. Because there was a lot, I think there was a lot of time and effort placed on quality control and making sure that the movie was going to turn out the way they needed it to come out. And if it wasn't going to meet that standard, the movie would be canceled. I think Nintendo prioritizes that over a potential loss of some money in making the movie. So, that all said, once Nintendo announces this, I believe it will come out, and I believe it will be good. I'm not saying it's going to be a masterpiece, but I think it will entertain fans. I think the majority of people will appreciate the movie. Whatever direction they go, be it animated, live action, whatever it is, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a Zelda movie in any form. I just kind of was hoping for something animated, but I don't know. Maybe they'll do something crazy good. But I don't know. I feel like the tone of like The Witcher works a lot better with live action because it's like super gritty, like gory.
Sure.
It's already pretty realistic style, whereas Zelda's like very, very fantastical, especially games like Wind Waker. And just going live action is just so different from the style, and I'm worried it will take away some of the soul of the Zelda series. I hope they do something good with it, and they don't just make it generic like medieval fantasy stuff.
Would they make it generic medieval fantasy stuff?
I don't know.
Like,
probably
do you
not.
think Nintendo would? I just don't think Nintendo would do that.
Either way, I still don't think live action services the series as good as animation would.
Yeah.
I mean, if we came up with like a photorealistic Zelda, I'm not sure. I mean, it would be fine. I'd be hyped, but it would lose something, I think.
I mean, I guess when how I was just talking about like the One Piece thing, right? Like when you watch One Piece, like it has a certain magic to it, right? And then you try to portray that in live action. There's going to be some weird stuff to it, right?
Yeah.
And Zelda has a little bit of a whimsical nature to it. I mean,
Right.
but there are like live action series that have a little bit of a whimsical nature to it. Like there are plenty of movies and TV shows that kind of give you that sense of magic and mystery. Like it's all, they do that. Like even like the Narnia series that does that, for example. And that's not even like the best of the best, right? Like it's just like kind of solid. So I think it can be done. I'm really not that concerned. But I'll tell you this. I want to see giant boss battles. I want to see magic.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see some really cool effects. And whatever format they need to take to appropriately portray this, that's what they got to do.
Mm.
So I guess the question is, what's cheaper? Live action with CGI put in to make that looks realistic, that fits that world to portray these things, or just all CGI?
I mean,
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that question. So,
I mean, you're still doing CGI either way, and then if you're doing
there's gonna be
a
CGI
photo shoot,
regardless.
you have to set up these huge, multi-million-dollar sets. It's like millions of dollars. Probably every couple weeks. And then however long you're shooting, and then you have to pay for all the actors to travel, and your cast to travel, and your crew to travel, and you gotta pay for all the mics and the boom mics and the cars and the everything. All the you probably want to do at least some real-time effects. So you gotta pay for all that.
Yeah, I also think this movie's gonna take years. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the Mario movie didn't exactly take a short time. They announced that in 2016.
Yeah, I guess something else to point out is while we're hearing these reports, right, I think maybe we should note that the movie may never come out, because that same way I was talking about the Mario Bros. Movie, how there are multiple points where there was doubt that it would finish. If whatever direction they actually choose, if it's not meeting the quality standard they have for the series, it will not come out.
Right.
So, we should definitely take this with a grain of salt, even if we 100% believe the source, because at any point, in early development, it may not happen. Something may change. So,
I mean, that Netflix one was gonna happen, and then it leaked, and they were so mad about the leak they canceled the project.
Yeah, I bet there's more to that story than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was already some conflict with Netflix, like the relationship had to have already been strained, and this was like the final straw.
Could be. Anyway, I think we should move on because we have a lot to talk about tonight. So, let's finish that up. Let me check. I have a few super chats here. Looks like I got one. Taker 610 with another super chat. Thank you for that super chat. Taker says Harry Styles to play Link in musical adaptation. Okay.
Amazing. Give it to me. Not really.
Whatever. I have no opinion, no comment. Like that's that. If it works, it works. But I don't know if it will. Anyways, next topic, and that is Smash news. So, all right, I guess this is the time to talk about it because some people are asking why I haven't talked about this yet. And the ultimate reason why I didn't make this into a video, I was actually initially thinking I was going to make the video on Smash stuff for this Sunday. Instead, I made a Metroid related topic. And that's because I didn't think there was enough material to create a video and potentially overhype something that's not going to happen.
Right.
So that's kind of my take on this. That said, let's talk. There's still a possibility here. So let's go over what's going on. Basically, there's a few different insiders out there or people who we trust that would say some things that they've heard that are indicating that there's going to be some Smash news soon. And there's also some actual things going on that we know about that seem to support that as well. So basically, there are amiibo restocks, and I think I also heard like GameCube controller restocks that are planned. And beforehand, when this has happened, this has coincided with Smash DLC. So that's what has people kind of excited. And Papagenos has suggested that something is happening. I believe Necrofelipe also said that they heard something's about to happen. But both Papagenos and Necrofelipe have cautioned people to not get too excited on this. They're not trying to tell us that a Fighters Pass Volume 3 is about to be announced or a Smash Deluxe is about to be announced. Right. What's been brought up is that we don't have an amiibo for Sora yet, the final Smash DLC character. And the way Smash has been constructed, when we look at like the data mines, like it doesn't seem like they can just add it. There needs to be some kind of update in order for the amiibo to be available for it. Apparently,
gotcha.
I don't fully understand it.
In there yet.
Yeah, there's not data in it for it, so there would have to be some sort of update for that, and that may be the extent of the Smash news, which is why I didn't make a video on it. Like I think literally here, let's see, Necrofelipe on Fami board said Smash thing to me only to enable a new Sora amiibo support product release should be announced soon. So there isn't like anyone hearing that they're about to now announce Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Volume 3 DLC or a Smash Ultimate Deluxe. Right. So that's why. Yeah. So and that's why I didn't make a video on it, because there's the people that are hearing things don't think it's going to be something big. It may be an amiibo announcement, which would be nice. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That said, it's not impossible. Temper your expectations. But I think it should be noted that, and I've actually talked about this when the Mario Kart Booster Course Pass was announced, and some people called me crazy then, but I talked about how when the Mario Kart Booster Course Pass ends, Nintendo's going to want to have something else to fill that void. Because the Booster Course Pass is perhaps the greatest and most used content that is given to us for free if you have the Nintendo expansion pack, the online expansion pack. It's really good, and we've been getting continual updates on with Mario Kart, the best-selling game on Switch, so it has the most reach, most impact. And once that's done, and we're gonna get news on Wave 6 pretty soon, probably in the Direct this week, That's going to
Probably.
come out in a month or so, and that's it. The booster course pass is going to be complete. Mario Kart will be done. We'll talk more about that for the next topic. But once that's done, what's next? Is Nintendo going to not have some sort of premiere and new content that they're adding consistently that keeps people engaged and using Smash Online, Nintendo Online? I think there is reason to think that at some point they're going to have something else that's getting consistent DLC that's being offered for free. Nintendo finished the DLC for Animal Crossing. I mean, you could make the same argument for Smash, but I would say, of those two, Smash makes more sense. I think that stirs up a lot more conversation and excitement.
Oh yeah,
and
Smash
I think
stirs up more than anything.
Yeah, and also like for Animal Crossing, I think it just makes sense to think they're just making the next Animal Crossing. Like they're gonna make the next Animal Crossing for Switch 2, and that's it. For Smash, we could see them doing a DLC wave because that could help to lengthen the lifespan of Smash Ultimate, especially because it feels like with Smash Ultimate, they sort of kind of put themselves in a wall, like they're in a corner,
Right.
like they're not sure where exactly to go next. It's going to be hard to just one up Smash Ultimate and by starting from the ground up, right? So either A, we get a Smash Ultimate Deluxe for Switch 2. It's not going to be announced for Switch. It's not going to happen. That would be like announcing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for Wii U. So
yeah,
like don't expect that in this direct. If that's coming, it's coming for Switch 2. So instead, we're probably, our best bet is DLC.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we're gonna get new Smash content, honestly, I think they would just wait for the Switch 2 coming out next year. Might as well just do it then with an enhancement for that system, or you can even wait till the next year to do it. Because as you say, it's like it's gonna be very hard to figure out what they want to do with the next Smash. Whereas like the next Mario Kart is probably a lot easier. I don't know. I think Splatoon 3 has a great opportunity to be the next game, like single DLC, because the single player DLC is supposed to come out next year. So I mean, they might talk about that in this direct.
Maybe they could announce side order for free. What you're saying? My problem with that is that people have already paid for it individually. Like. So that's why I'm not sure that's what it would be. You understand my point?
Yeah. I
because
forgot that you can actually buy it now.
Yeah, because there was the first wave that already came out.
Yeah, because they had that first wave that I keep
So like with the
forgetting
Booster
about.
Course Pass, it was announced for free immediately.
Right.
So you had the option to have Nintendo Online's expansion pack and have it for free, or buy it separately if you don't have it, right? One or the other. So I would think it would have to be something new that's being added to a game.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, or something really old.
Yeah,
they've done that. They've added old DLC but years afterwards, so it's a little different there. But that also wouldn't be kind of like the new thing that people keep coming back to, right? That keeps things relevant. Granted, the Booster Course Pass is still going to be available on Nintendo Online. Like, it's not going to stop being there for free. It's just about what's the next new thing. So we'll see. Now, this could tie into our predictions a little bit, but there has been some talk about something F-Zero. Mr. Pioro on Twitter has been liking people suggesting F-Zero 99. I would rather get F-Zero GX Remastered. But what if it's both? I don't know. But also, is F-Zero like really niche? Is that the kind of game that would keep people, invested into Nintendo Online? That would be a good replacement for the Booster Course Pass? The content for the best-selling like racing game ever or something? Like I'm not sure on that. So it's a little bit of a weird scenario we're in, but I'll also say that we may get our answer, but I don't think that answer is going to come in this direct. Like I think we get Wave 6 now, and maybe we'll see an announcement early next year. But then early next year we could be talking about the announcement for Switch 2, and that's like Nintendo's next generation plan. So next year's going to be a transition year. Yeah, and I think things are going to be really wonky in terms of predicting patterns and stuff. I think I'm not even sure we're going to get a February direct next year, like a general one. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a mini before like the Switch 2 presentation. So, it's going to be different. But anyways, that's why I didn't make a video on it, because I don't want to make a video on something. Like, I could say, hey, there's Smash Amiibo coming, Smash news is coming. I could say that, but I don't want to make a video saying, hey, Volume 3 is going to get announced. I mean, I could have posed a question like, hey, could Volume 3... I could do that. I've done that before. But I guess it was more... It was that plus timing, right? Like, there's so much other things to talk about right now that's why I didn't make a video on it. So, that, and I was on vacation when the news broke. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the Smash situation. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Brandon.
Not really. It's just like just to wrap up my thoughts, I don't think anything's going to be announced this Wednesday or whenever the direct is. I don't think it'll be announced here because obviously we got the Mario Kart 8 DLC still finishing, but still, I don't foresee any Smash DLC until at least the Switch 2's release. So I wouldn't expect that. But that's just me personally.
Yeah. No, I think we're kind of on the same page. I mean, I at least think it's not in this direct, right? It would be early next year at the earliest. Yeah. So we're on the same page there. Anyways, I think we can just jump into our next topic. We still have a lot to talk about, so I think we do have to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
Let's see. I also apparently have to get up early in the morning. I agreed to play tennis. All right. New Mario Kart soon. Is this the clickbait? Is it the clickbait here? Maybe. It's clickbait. It's not clickbait.
Nah.
It's all relative. So basically, the reason I just posed this title for this topic is because we got news that Mario Kart. What's the date? Yeah, here we go. So Mario Kart Tour content is ending in October. Like the last Mario Kart Tour update's coming in October, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Nintendo says no new content for Mario Kart Tour after October 4th. So that means no more new tracks, no more new characters, no more new skins, costumes. That's ending. And this is interesting because, as Brandon, you brought up earlier, the Booster Course Pass is also probably ending as well. Wave 6 is going to be it. And with Mario Kart Tour ending, it kind of supports that more because some people have been wondering, well, will we get a Booster Course Pass too, right? Which maybe would have been a solid answer for, well, what happens to the Booster Course? More Booster Course would have been a solid answer. But if they do that, when do we move on to the brand new Mario Kart?
Right.
So in some ways, you could argue this is bad news because I think it does imply that there won't be a Booster Course Pass 2.
Yeah, they would have to change how they're doing it because it wouldn't be possible with the current way they're doing it.
Exactly, because the new tour content was also the new content in the Booster Course Pass, just kind of redone and reworked, right? So with both ending, I think that just means that this generation of Mario Kart stuff is ending. And
finally.
In some ways, it's bad news for those that want more new Mario Kart content in the foreseeable future. But in other ways, it's good news because I think it does mean that a brand new Mario Kart will come soon. I think it's going to be a Switch 2 title. I think it's going to come out early in the system's life cycle. I don't know if it comes out next year because I think we're going to get 3D Mario first. They may want to space that out a little bit. But I'm going to bet that we see the next brand new Mario Kart, like Mario Kart 10 or 9, whatever you want to call it, but the next-gen mainline Mario Kart that we play on a home console hybrid, I think we're going to see that by 2025.
Yeah, I could definitely see that by the end of 2025. I assume that's what you mean by the end of 2025.
Yeah, by the end, I think we'll at least have an announcement for it. At least,
yeah,
I think it could even be. I think I would even be willing to bet that it will come out before the end of 2025. It might be like they want you look at the success of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's the best-selling Switch game. Nintendo's gonna want that Mario Kart out early on the next system, early, as an exclusive. They want people to buy that thing. They haven't given us a home console new Mario Kart since 2014. They're gonna use that Mario Kart to bring in a lot of hype and excitement. And this news, while at face value may seem bad, it is good because it does mark the transition to the next generation of Mario Kart. You got to end one generation to move on to the next.
And initially, I was kind of worried about it being too close to the end of the DLC, but I mean, I think it will be close to 2-year, gap. If we're probably going to see the next wave in next month or the month after, and then we probably won't see this game till holiday next year at the earliest. Probably, potentially, till holiday 2025. So a year and a half to 2 years is what I'm thinking, because I think it'll probably be 2025. So I think that's plenty of time. Initially, I was thinking it might be as low as like 6 months, which I think would be too close. But a year to 2 years is perfectly fine.
Yeah. I mean, if a little bit of a gap, and then I think we'll be good to go. Like, especially if the new Mario Kart does something different, right? Like, so actually, oh man,
There's so many different ways they could take it, bro. And I feel like we don't have time to discuss it all.
we don't. I just have a really good segue. All right,
I mean,
guys.
this could be a short topic. We can segue.
Yeah, I think we
said
got
all that we wanted to
to segue, because the thing is, the other two topics, each of them can be a podcast in and of themselves.
Yeah.
So I think we got to move on. I just want to point out, I got a little sticker here from DLK777. Thank you very much for that sticker.
Nice.
But here's the segue. We're talking about Switch 2 specs, because I just thought, it's like a discussion Brandon and I had last night.
Right.
Some of the Switch 2 stuff suggests that we could have frame rates that exceed 60 frames per second on Switch 2. And Brandon and I last night were having a discussion on this, and we're like, yo, what if the next Mario Kart's 120 frames per second, bro? Like,
possible.
It is more. We're not saying it's going to happen. We don't know
Right.
what direction they're actually going to take things. But what's crazy about these Switch 2 spec stuff is that it's possible.
Right.
So what am I getting at here? Well, there's a lot. The specific point is that we're hearing that DLSS 3.1 it was being used to showcase the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo that's supposed to show what the Switch 2 can do. And I know I've seen some people kind of like disagree with me on this take with the video I uploaded today, but what I think what some people are missing, because I'm not sure everyone understands this, right? And I didn't understand this until I talked about with Brandon last night, who educated me, and then I watched videos from NVIDIA. Just go to NVIDIA's channel and watch what their DLSS videos. They literally tell you what their different versions of DLSS do. And DLSS 3.1, what it is frame generation. It creates more frames so you can see an experience that is a higher frame rate. So, point being, if they want to have a 120 frame per second game, they can do that.
Right.
Now, I know some people say that I am a little confused on this point, and Brandon, maybe you can expand on this.
Okay.
But I've seen people say this before. I haven't done any research on it, but I've seen some people say that the human eye cannot see beyond 60 frames per second.
Oh.
But at the same time, we know for a fact that there are tons of PC gamers that play a whole bunch of games at 120 frames per second. So
yeah, this is just, I'm not sure the exact science behind
what's going on,
what these people are saying, but in practice, it's complete bullcrap. It's not true. You can totally see the difference between 60 and 120 and even 240, even 300, even higher frame rates. You can see. In fact, if you play a game at 120 FPS and it starts dipping down to like 100 FPS, you'll feel it stuttering, just like if you're playing a game at 60 FPS.
I googled it. I googled, can we see 120 frames per second? And the Google search says, yes, human eyes can see 120 frames per second, although not all humans can recognize such high frame rates. The higher the frames per second, the smoother will be the motion.
Yeah.
But then I check another thing. It seems like there's definitely some discrepancies here, because another thing says, how many frames per second can you see? Some experts will tell you that the human eye can see between 30 and 60 frames per second. So I'm getting conflicting reports here.
I can tell you, I've seen with my eyeballs that you can tell. You can definitely tell.
Yeah, I mean, how it would be quite the scam to have a lot of like people buying monitors that have higher refresh rates than just 60 for no reason.
Yeah,
It'd be quite the scam.
Wild. I'm pretty sure people would have figured it out by now if they can see literally no difference. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have caught on as such a popular thing.
It's strange, but you know.
But yeah, I've definitely heard that argument, but no, it's not really true in the practical sense of can you tell a difference between 120 FPS and 60? Yes, you can. That's just a fact. Yes, you can. You can tell.
Forbes article
there is a
here.
difference.
Why do we need 120 hertz if people can only? Damn ads! I can't read the article. Human eyes cannot see things beyond 60 hertz. So why are 120 hertz, 144 hertz monitors better? Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to skim here, I guess like we can't like see it like directly, but there's still like an overall impact to the smoothness.
Either way, the practical application is yes, there's a difference. It makes it's the same kind of difference you would see between 30 and 60. It's just a little smaller.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think the other cool thing about the DLSS 3.1 part is that even if Switch 2 games are only be at 60 frames per second, it enables them to maybe target to make sure they hit 60 frames per second. For those games that aren't going to hit 60 with DLSS 3.1, they have the ability to give it a much better chance at hitting 60.
Technically, yeah. Although, to put the biggest caveat ever in this, NVIDIA themselves don't recommend using DLSS 3 at under 60 FPS. So, I mean, it's possible. It works. It may be something developers do and figure out a way to make it better. And in fact, NVIDIA themselves may have been working on a specific version of DLSS 3 that works better at lower frame rates. It might be an update that even goes to the PC version. But as far as we know, with the current version of DLSS, you're not really supposed to do that. The idea is to use 60 FPS to hopefully get to 120 FPS or at least close to that number.
Yeah. But anyway, let's go over all the details because I just mentioned like one thing, right? So this is a story. At Gamescom, behind closed doors, tech demos were shown to certain partners and word got out, right? The two tech demos we've heard of. One is by the way, I'm kind of combining all the information, right? Some of this comes from Necro Felipe, some of this comes from Nate the Hate, some of this comes from Humor Gamer and Video Games Chronicle, right? I've talked about in the videos, the sources are in the different videos throughout the week. But basically, so Gamescom tech demos, one was a tech demo for Breath of the Wild running at 60 frames per second, 4K, and from menu screen to gameplay, there was no delay. Load times were instant. So instead of a 30-second loading screen, instant. So that's huge. And then for the Unreal Engine 5, there's been some debate if it's been DLSS 3.1 or 3.5. Some of the reports a little conflicted. But point is, it was using an advanced DLSS, and it was showcasing Unreal Engine 5. And it was with ray tracing, which is very demanding. Right. And ray tracing is like rendering of impressive lighting effects. If you don't know what DLSS is, we talked about the 3.1 stuff, how that can improve frame rate. DLSS 2 improves resolution. Like it uses AI to take something like 720p and push it to 1440 or beyond. So that can help with Switch when you have Switch games that can't even hit 1080, right? So it would make a big difference. So there's that stuff. And then the interesting thing about 3.5 is that DLSS 3.5 is about improving the upscaling for ray tracing to make the ray tracing lighting effects better as well. So if the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo has ray tracing and a good amount of it, maybe that's why there's some debate about if it's DLSS 3.5 or not. We're not sure.
Well, I've heard
uncertainty there.
Nate the Hate, because there's so many different updates that keep coming out, but I heard Nate the Hate on his podcast said that the ray tracing in the Matrix Awakening demo is actually better than the ray tracing in the other next-gen consoles, which would make sense if they're using DLSS 3.5, as that would be accelerating the ray tracing in a way that would push far beyond what the fidelity of the ray tracing resolution can be on those consoles.
Yeah. it's also possible, since we're talking about something customized for the Switch, that it may not fall under the traditional sort of categories that NVIDIA uses for their own branded hardware, right? So that may be part of the confusion.
Yeah, I mean, whatever versions these will be specifically tailored to the Switch's spec. So, right, these aren't going to be just the generic versions on from the PC on the Switch, because I imagine the actual like AI power that the Switch will have and potential to tap into will be a lot lower. So they'll have to do a lot more optimization of these features, which potentially could result in slightly more artifacting or issues with it, but you'll still get the major benefits from it.
Yeah. Now, another detail that came from Necrofelipe is that the Switch 2 will have 12 gigabytes of RAM, at least based off the tech demos.
And that is huge.
That's at least 3 times the RAM of Switch. I say at least because we don't know what type of RAM it is, and that can
impact 3 times the storage, but we don't know how much the speed increases, right?
That Brandon explains it better. But so just to summarize it, the supposed improvements, right? DLSS confirmed, right? And some type of DLSS that may improve frame rate potentially, and may improve ray tracing. There's some asterisks there, but we are seeing ray tracing and a good form of it, faster load times, exponentially, 12 gigabytes of RAM. And Breath of the Wild tech demo at 4K 60, and then the Unreal Engine 5 demo running with better ray tracing than prior versions, which bodes really well for Switch 2. It suggests that they're, obviously Unreal Engine 5 will run on the system,
right?
But also that third-party games are going to be very feasible on Switch 2, like next-gen games.
Oh yeah, for sure. One small caveat I want to say before I forget is Unreal Engine 5 itself is extremely new. When that demo came out like a year and a half ago or something, no games had ever shipped with that engine before. It was a tech demo, one of the only tech demos actually made with that engine from Epic. It was like a very much in development engine still. So the version of Unreal Engine 5 that is out now, I'm sure is much, much more optimized. So the idea that we will see much better ray tracing in every, game up against PS5 and Series X isn't, may not necessarily be true, and we may see bigger differences between the later versions as they, they're more optimized. They can push more features on those versions. So it would still be great. Like all the benefits we're talking about, you're still going to get these next gen games coming on. But the idea that Switch will always have them at the same or better fidelity as these bigger brothers is not necessarily true, or may not be necessarily true.
I want to point something out in the chat here, because I think it should be acknowledged. All right, so Giancarlo asks, or just points out, plot twist, is 12 gigabytes of RAM for developer, 8 gig RAMs for consumers? And so
as far as
Giancarlo added me. Well, I'm going to show you the rumor. I'm going to just show it to you, because they'll just show it to you. It's the easiest. I feel like it'll just make the most sense then. All right, so here we go. Share. All right, so this is Necrofelipe. He works for University Nintendo, right? They've been predicting all the directs correctly. Their reports have lined up with Eurogamer and Video Games Chronicle, so there seems to be a solid amount of credibility here, right? This is translated, but here are the sources. Per my sources now, the version of DLSS shown behind closed doors by the Nintendo Switch 2 tech demo is 3.1 and not 3.5 as reported by Eurogamer. Ray tracing is indeed possible, and the RAM I was told was 12 gigabytes for consumer. It's a rumor. He classifies it as a rumor, right? So, take it with a grain of salt. Maybe he doesn't have enough sources on it to really call it a report or a leak, but
that is what I remember hearing,
So, there you go.
And there's not another conflicting one?
No.
I doubt that it would be 8 even. I don't even think I don't think it would be that much of a disparity for the development kit either way. But even so, I don't think things like ray tracing or DLSS, at least at 4K, or any of these kind of things that we're seeing in these tech demos would be possible on the consumer version if it was only 8 gigs. Like it's just you need RAM to do all of those things, like a lot of it.
Like if we want ray tracing, if we want 4K, like it's a lot of stuff that's gonna.
I mean, that's what we're seeing on Series S. Is even though it has similar GPU power to, say, the Xbox One X, it often runs at much lower resolutions. In fact, sometimes it's a 1080p versus 4K on the One X, even though that's a generation behind, because it just doesn't have enough RAM to support those kind of resolutions. So if Switch 2 wants to be doing 4K in a lot of games, it just really is going to need that extra RAM.
Yeah. But, just to put this in layman terms, right, what all this is suggesting is that a lot of Switch 2 games we could see running at 4K, 60 frames per second, especially, at least if they were made for Switch, like totally conceivable. There's going to be ray tracing is going to be totally possible, and maybe not even just basic ray tracing. So we could see some really great lighting effects on Switch 2 games. The loading times are going to be significantly improved, apparently, at least based off the Breath of the Wild tech demo. And that bodes extremely well. And it makes sense because PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series also have far improved load times. So it makes sense to have it compete in that way.
It's going to need an SSD if it wants to do those kind of like Unreal Engine 5 and stuff. It wants to stream that kind of data. It's going to need an SSD.
But it's going to be a mobile, so I don't. Maybe
SSDs come in mobile form.
All right, well,
they're very, very small, actually.
I mean, I'm thinking about the SSD I have in my PC. I'm like, oh, that could probably fit in the Switch if they really wanted to. I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, but that's a whole chip designed to fit in a motherboard. The actual SSD is just the tiny little chiplets on top of the board.
Why haven't they done this before compared to flash memory?
It's more expensive. And flash memory is the same thing. It's just less advanced form of the same thing.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
Flash is just a much cheaper form of the same.
That would make a big difference, right? And there's been some speculation that they'll be using a new type of cartridge too that would read faster. I think
it would have to. I would assume to push the kind of data because like a lot of games on Switch are under 10 gigs, right? But if we're gonna see like 4K assets and textures and stuff made for that, then we're gonna definitely start seeing, especially from third parties, some 50 to 100 gigabyte installs. So you're gonna need better.
I just want to reiterate because not everyone is all fully gets all the tech stuff, right? Switch games are gonna look good. Switch 2 games are gonna look good. 4K 60 FPS totally possible. Technically, DLSS 3.1 could imply games going beyond 60. But we're not sure if they're going to actually take advantage of that on Switch 2. 12 gigabytes of RAM, which bodes well for higher resolution and also ray tracing, which is really good lighting effects, and fast load times.
Yeah.
So basically, Switch games are going to look sharp, they're going to look smooth, and they're going to load quickly.
Yeah.
I think all really good things.
The most exciting aspect to this is, and this won't be true for every aspect of every game, right? But we're going to see a lot of times where the Switch 2 version of a game is, at the very least, competitive with the Series S version of that same game. I imagine oftentimes we'll see higher resolutions due to DLSS on the Switch 2 version, but we'll see things like worse draw distance, less foliage, more pop-in, that kind of thing on the Switch version. Right. And whereas the Series S version will be cleaner, it will have more assets on screen at once and stuff like that. But you're gonna get the lower resolutions because it doesn't have any kind of AI upscaling via hardware.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like we kind of covered it. Like this bodes well for third-party games, right? Like I better get my Elden Ring and Resident Evil 4 remake on Switch 2. I want those 100%. Games portable. Like with this stuff we're hearing, those games should totally be there. Totally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and they'll probably at least look better than PS4. The PS4 version. So this bodes really well.
This device is going to put out a generation ahead of PS4 level visuals. I mean, the Switch already puts out very compromised PS4 level visuals, right? So we'll see a less compromised PS5 level visual scenario with Switch 2. It'll be closer than before, though.
Yeah, and developers are gonna have less excuses for not putting their games on Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless Switch 2 bombs in terms of sales, but we'll see.
That's unlikely.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we kind of covered the topic, Brand. I think we're kind of ready to move on to the Nintendo Direct predictions, unless there's something else you want to get into before I move on.
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure somebody in the chat might bring something up.
Sure. I mean, we'll have time for Q&A afterwards. So I think we can just jump in because, listen, I don't know how long. I think we're doing a good job of getting through these topics, but we got to get to these direct predictions. So if you got nothing else, I think we should just move on.
Cool.
It's also better not to go in circles, right? Like we've covered it. So let's move on. But if you guys have certain questions, post it. Save your questions for the Q&A, or if you at me, I'll try and get to it a little bit later, or super chats. Like I'll save them and we'll get to them for the Q&A. But let's get into our predictions. So no, a Nintendo Direct has not been confirmed yet, and a Nintendo Direct wouldn't be confirmed until we're a day away. We think that day away is tomorrow.
Right.
Yes. I was kind of waiting to make the video today because I was wondering if they were going to announce it today for a Tuesday release potentially. But it's looking like the 13th is probably the date. Now,
I'm expecting to wake up tomorrow and have it announced.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that announcement to be on Twitter, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, I'm going to say this part. On the off chance we're somehow wrong, that would mean the leakers that have been correct in the past consistently are all wrong. And it would be strange because Nintendo has a lot of things to talk about, like Mortal Kombat 1, like the Pokemon DLC. Those things are coming out in the next week. They need to be talked about. Like they always have a September Direct. To not have one now would be very odd. Of course, they could always do it the week after, but the longer you wait. So I think it's happening this week. I'm not really that doubtful, but we don't know for sure. So yes, take it with a grain of salt. That all said, eventually there will be a Direct. And when this Direct happens, there will be announcements. So Brandon, how about you give me a prediction of yours? What do you think will show up in this Direct?
A prediction.
We'll take turns. We'll go back and forth.
Okay. You know what? Donkey Kong.
Okay.
And you know what else? I don't think it's going to be Donkey Kong versus Mario. Or at least not just that game.
Okay, because he heard about, the Piora leak said, seems to be implying that the Donkey Kong related announcement is just Mario versus Donkey Kong. Or it could be a fake out. It could be both. You think we're actually seeing new Donkey Kong tomorrow?
Yeah. If we see some, I don't think they're gonna show off some like very, very small like spin-off Donkey Kong Mario thing as like the only Mario or the only Donkey Kong game. I think they're gonna want something big for the part coming out next year and the hype off the Mario movie. And
what if it's both?
Bring back Donkey Kong as a big series like Nintendo's been saying that they want to do.
Yeah, like it is interesting to think like. So the way the Pure leaks work, and we're not sure what's going on. So I feel like I'm not even sure I can call this a spoiler at this point because it's kind of confusing. Pure posted a GIF of Donkey Kong rolling, and then later quote tweeted that or quote posted, whatever you want to call it, and kind of did some sort of hint towards Mario versus Donkey Kong, and then in the kind of replies, someone asked, will there be minis? And he said yes, like the minis from Mario vs. Donkey Kong, the little Mario toys. So it does seem to be him confirming that Mario vs. Donkey Kong is the thing, but it's within the realm of possibility that they may be hinting at both. I don't know if I buy it.
I feel like
but
it's a really mean move to tease Donkey Kong and then later to be like, oh yeah, guys, it wasn't a new Donkey Kong game. Like all the rumors and leaks recently have been saying it's actually Donkey Kong versus Mario, and I just really wanted to hype you up for no reason. Screw all you guys.
Well, some people believe that the reason why Bureau did that was to out leakers who were like, "Oh, see, I also knew the Donkey Kong game was getting announced tomorrow." And Bureau's like, "Yeah,
Mm.
well, so it's actually Mario vs. Donkey Kong." I
I mean, if it
opinions,
is
should I
Mario
say
vs.
them?
Donkey Kong, then I guess that just means they're saving the real Donkey Kong game for announcement next year. That's my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if it's just Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I think yeah, they like that doesn't mean the new Donkey Kong isn't coming. It's just not coming yet.
Right.
And I also think with the Donkey Kong expansion coming to the Super Nintendo world, it shouldn't be that far off. So
No.
we'll see. We'll see on that one. I hope you're right because I want to see a new Donkey Kong. Mario vs. Donkey Kong would be nice, but let's face it, that's pretty much probably
Yeah.
just an eShop title, unless there's some sort of dramatic, reimagining what that series is, which is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to put out a disclaimer, by the way, about these predictions. This is just something I'm making up right now. I literally haven't thought about these predictions that much before the podcast, right? I'm making these up on the spot. So if you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, you were so wrong, I'm sorry. This is just my feelings in this moment with the logic that I'm making up during this
Yeah,
podcast.
you'll wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, how could I say that? It is just Mario vs. Donkey Kong. What was I thinking?
How could I lead people astray?
Yeah, I know. I believe that a new Donkey Kong is coming, like an actual new Donkey Kong game.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to predict a new Donkey Kong with the Mario vs. Donkey Kong thing. I hope you're right, but I don't know if you are. But I'll give you a prediction. Because there's another game that was teased and then sort of seemed to flip the tables on us that kind of was disheartening. And that was F-Zero GX Remastered. That's been rumored for a while. And there was F-Zero hints, and there was the Silex Hunter also teased something F-Zero. And then Fiora started liking tweets about people suggesting it's F-Zero 99 because Fiora pointed out that Pac-Man 99 is ending. If it's F-Zero 99 instead of F-Zero GX Remastered, I would be disappointed. I mean, that's assuming that F-Zero 99 is like a very basic kind of like NSO game where you're I mean, it would still be cool, right? Like 99 Racers F-Zero, like that would be cool. But I'm assuming it's not like 3D visuals. I'm assuming it's like like maybe like Super Nintendo graphics or something.
I don't know. I think they could just use like F-Zero X.
F-Zero. I mean, that would still be that it would be neat. It would be neat, right? Like, it would still be cool. Like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No, it'd be hype, but it's just not nearly as much as the remaster of a new game.
But I also
it
think
wouldn't be the
odd.
thing to bring back the series in any kind of real way.
No. Yeah, it would just be kind of like, oh, that's neat, right?
The only reason they would do this is if they have a much bigger F-Zero project in the works that this is hyping up, and they're doing this first, right? Because otherwise, why in the world show all this F-Zero stuff to people, and the only thing you have on the platform is F-Zero X on Nintendo Online, and then this? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
It's also
There's no marketing potential there.
I don't know. Maybe it's a big deal, right? Maybe it's like maybe F-Zero 99. It's not just like a small thing. Maybe it's like a big thing, and maybe it started off as a GX remaster, and they turned it into like this NSO F-Zero game.
Maybe.
It'd be pretty hype, right? Like if it's like using it, because F-Zero GX is GameCube graphics, but like if you play F-Zero GX on GameCube, it's one of the best looking GameCube games. If they were to remaster that, kind of like how they remastered Metroid Prime 1, it would look like a modern day game. It would look amazing. It'd be one of the best looking Switch games. So this is what I'm gonna say. I don't think the F-Zero stuff is something basic. That's my prediction. My prediction is F-Zero fans will be excited about the F-Zero announcement during the Direct. I don't think it's going to be a mid F-Zero announcement. I think it's going to be something substantial. If there is an F-Zero 99, it's either a big deal F-Zero 99 or it's something on top of another F-Zero project.
Right. Because I don't think you really do a lot with like new stuff with F-Zero if it's not going to be something that's like exciting. Because like why put in the effort then for that franchise Like, obviously, we've gotten F-Zero X on NC4 Online, but that's just an emulated port of it. It's no new content there. Making any kind of new F-Zero content without any kind of real purpose when that series is actually dead, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Like, also, like, does F-Zero make sense as, like, the new 99 like
No.
NSO game? Like, F-Zero's niche, right? Like, it's not a Mario, it's not a Zelda, it's not a Tetris or a Pac-Man.
It only
which,
makes sense if you're trying to release something later to hype it up and show off
Yeah.
F-Zero to people.
that maybe you're right. I think F-Zero fans will. My prediction is that F-Zero fans will be happy with what we get. So whatever that is exactly, it'll be good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So what's your next prediction? Should we go over the obvious things? Mario Wonder will be there. The WarioWare game will be there. Detective Pikachu will be there.
Luigi's Mansion, Dark Moon.
Yeah, I think they'll give us updates on that. The Peach game is supposedly gonna be getting
probably. There have been times where they show off a new game and then they don't talk about it in the next direct, right? Yeah, they take a break. But I suspect this will be a pretty early in the year title, so I imagine they'll still talk about it again.
Yeah, I feel
they didn't show any. They haven't even titled the game yet, so
I think the Luigi remaster might not be shown because that does feel like something they can just like, oh, hey, it's ready, here you go. Right?
Yeah, they don't need to show it again.
They might wait for a direct in February if it's coming out, say April or something. Like, hey, so
the build they had for the trailer looked really rough. Like the frame rate was not good.
Yeah, so if of the two unannounced games for next year, well, they are announced games for next year, I would say the Peach game is more likely, especially because we have the leak suggesting so.
Well, there's just more information we need to see on that, whereas Dark Moon, we kind of
Peach
know
is an actual
we
new
need
game.
To see.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, I'm not saying the Luigi game won't be there. I just, if I had to pick one, the Peach game for sure it makes more sense.
They want to save time. They don't want to talk about something again. They may not want to talk about something again. They don't need to.
Right, it's not even a new game, so
no, it's not like it's about to come out or anything.
Right. So, I mean, outside of that, I think there was one game that's coming out. Oh, obviously Mario RPG. We're gonna get more information on that too, I think. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, all the games that are coming out this year, we'll get more updates on those. Will there be any announcements of content that's coming out this year in the Direct?
Well, I think we both think there's a pretty high chance they'll talk about or announce Metroid Prime 2 remaster of some sort.
Yeah, I think that's a likely candidate for the GameCube remaster Shadow Drop. So, because like the February Direct had the Prime 1 remaster Shadow Drop, the June Direct had Pikmin 1 and 2 GameCube remastered Shadow Drops. I think Prime 2 will take that slot this time. It's a little peculiar because the Pokemon DLC also comes out September 13th, this Wednesday. So if they Shadow Drop Prime 2, it might be a little awkward. That said, Nintendo did not care about putting out Prime 1 like the same week as Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
Yeah, and they're
so
just
they might
very,
not care
very
about this
different
DLC.
types of games. So
they are. I'll tell you that
I'll
be playing Prime 2 and not that Pokemon DLC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people who are in to like Prime 2 are gonna get it no matter what game it launches alongside. And then everybody else is gonna play Pokemon and probably would have played Pokemon regardless.
The thing is, I am a Pokemon fan though. Like I do think there's a good chance I will get Pokemon DLC.
This probably won't hurt the Pokemon sales, and everybody who's like a Metroid fan is going to play this regardless of what else releases, right? So it's going to make the sale, like at least most of the sales it would have ever made. Like, it's not really killing either project.
Do you think it's going to be a basic remaster like Pikmin 1 and 2, or do you think it's going to be something more like Prime 1?
I think it will be something in between. Where it will look substantially better. I think maybe something like a Wind Waker HD situation where they import some of the features from that engine, but maybe not necessarily go back and actually redo all the assets. They could even do things where because they use PBR, right? Like physically based rendering, which means that the materials in the game react to light in a realistic way. So they can actually port that back to the original game's assets and just change the textures and the information, like the data for the materials in the game, to work with that system. So you get all of those nice lighting effects and things without having to make any new geometry changes. Like it'd be the same, like basic geometry level, but with new features like
Yeah.
tapped on. I think we could see something like that.
Does
But
the
I would love
multiplayer
it
get
if it
online?
was. Yes,
So
if they include the multiplayer, it has online. There's no reason to include it otherwise. If
Yeah,
if it doesn't have online, they will drop the feature.
If they put less visual work into Prime 2, I think they make up for it by giving it online and selling it for
That'd
the
be
same
fair.
price. Yeah, I don't know how you handle Prime 3 though when they do that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, do you have any predictions for something that hasn't been like rumored or leaked, or like something that's kind of, that isn't necessary? We don't have any hard information that will be there, unless you do, but people aren't talking about.
I don't think I have any predictions
Well,
really.
I mean,
that
we mentioned
aren't
earlier,
rumored.
but Wave 6 Mario Kart, that's gonna be showcased.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Are you gonna predict Tears of the Kingdom DLC?
No.
No.
Even if it wasn't deconfirmed, I would have predicted it wouldn't be in this.
Okay.
I think they will do something with the game with the next system. Maybe not traditional DLC. Maybe they'll do something. At the very least, they'll upgrade the game for the next system.
All right.
But that is neither here nor there as far as the direct goes. I don't think I have anything that isn't like known. Like, I don't have any out of the blue predictions that I want to say. Really.
Yeah. I guess my problem with doing those kinds of predictions is that I'm trying to be right when I do the predictions, right? So if I pick something out of left field, it's tough. It's tough. I've had this rule though, right, that there would be four new announcements or 4 major updates for next year, right? I think one of them will be the Peach game. And we're hearing about something Donkey Kong. It may just be Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which could be an eShop title that comes out this year, which is kind of crazy. So maybe that doesn't even count.
Right.
The F-Zero thing, it would be weird if both things were just like smaller like eShop things for this. I have a hard time believing that Piora would leak stuff that's just like NSO eShop stuff and nothing else.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Also, he liked the 2 most boring options, right? Or the 2 most disappointing.
Could be
ones.
Trolling.
Could be
trolling. Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I do think this direct. I don't think it's going to be mid necessarily, but I don't think this is going to be an A tier direct necessarily either. I think this will be something
for that to happen.
Yeah, because I think this will still show signs of we're not ready to talk about the biggest projects we have because those are Switch 2 projects.
Yeah, which if it's legitimately just F-Zero 99 and Mario vs. Donkey Kong, then that would kind of really scream.
I think that would be bad.
Yeah.
That kind of screams, we are letting the Switch die until the Switch 2 comes out.
Yeah, there is something interesting going on though. And that is with the final, the closer, the show closer, because Piero asked the world what closes the show, and that was on Saturday and has been completely quiet since then. It's already Monday, unless something happened during the podcast that I missed. Nope, hasn't said anything. All right, so
says something in the chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's been anything else that's kind of come up in the last couple hours, but I don't think so. Nothing. Yeah, all he just said on September 9th, what will close the direct. That's it. Didn't like anything either. So I think I think there's an implication that there's at least one hype thing at the end of the show. There is something.
There pretty much always is. There's almost always something to end the show. The one last thing. I can't remember a time when they're just like, okay, show's over. Bye.
Right. So this is what I'm thinking. I think it's going to be something that's going to excite the core Nintendo fan base. And it's not F-Zero, because that's already been kind of accounted for. Donkey Kong isn't necessarily accounted for, so it could be that, right? So maybe that's what the end of the show is. But it also could be Metroid Prime 4.
You want to know my theory? And this is
Rip my
dependent
heart out.
on. No, this is good. This is
Okay.
dependent on whether or not
Put it
Metroid
back in.
Prime 2 Remaster gets announced. But if it does, that's assuming it does, I think they're 100% they'll show off Prime 4 at some capacity. Whether it's the 30-second teaser because it's coming out cross-gen for Switch 2, or it's a 2-minute like longer teaser to show off a little bit of the game because it's coming out early, or for the first half of next year. Either way, if they show off Metroid Prime 2, I think there's a high likelihood they show off Metroid Prime 4 teaser. Even though they still need to show off Metroid Prime 3, I understand that,
But they
But
can show that later. If there's gonna be this like hype cycle for Prime 4, it's a slow lead up.
right, they need a hype cycle. You can't, because they'll probably announce, assuming this happens, in the February Direct, that's probably when they'll shout drop Prime 3. And if Prime 4 is in the first half of the next year, are they really gonna start teasing Prime 4 like a few months before launch? No. They're gonna tease it now.
Honestly, I would be happy with 30 seconds, like maybe like 20 seconds of showing like a panning shot, then it closes on Samus, right? Like it shows the environment, shows Samus with some really cool Metroid music, and then it fades out. 2024.
Especially if this is a smaller remaster,
man.
And we don't know if this is just 2. This could be 2 and 3. So if this is 2 and 3, just like basic kind of like Pikmin 1 and 2 ports, they'll definitely want to show off something more hype, right? So they show off Prime 4, get people really excited. Prime 2 and 3 are out of the way now. We start talking about Prime 4.
Yeah, and I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but when the opening Q&A, when I was kind of debating like, what Nintendo's plan is for Prime 4, because if Prime 4 is supposed to be the last big Switch game before Switch 2, then I think for sure it's in this Direct. But if that's the case, then that means it's not a cross-gen title. And I want it to be a cross-gen title. I want to take advantage of that DLSS. Like, I want to see it at 60 frames. I mean, it has to be 60 FPS regardless. But like, what if it's higher frame rate, right? I want to see those ridiculous load times. I want to see it pushed to the limit, right? Like, I want the best possible version. So a game like Prime to come out so close to Switch 2 and not be taking advantage of that, it makes me... You know what I mean? Like it just feels feels weird.
This
to not
isn't gonna be
that.
like Tears of the Kingdom where they're using an engine from the Wii U and it looks mostly the same. This is gonna look like a really, really good looking game. Especially on Switch 2, I think they're gonna push it out even further than the Switch version. I'm sure the Switch version will look good. Switch Remaster or Prime Remaster looks good, but this is gonna be a bigger game.
Yeah, I want to make it clear, right? Like even if it is just for Switch, it's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah,
but I just want the very best, right? Like it's kind of like, like when Breath of the Wild came out for both Wii U and Switch, like I was like, no, I'm playing on Switch. Why? Because it's 900p versus 720p. The sound is slightly better and it's portable. That is the better version. If
Nintendo started releasing games on PC, I would 100% just play games on PC. I wouldn't even buy a Nintendo console. Like I played the best version, so I don't understand that.
Because of that, how I feel about this, right? I almost never start a Nintendo game in handheld mode. I always start in docked mode because I want to see it at its best first. And after I played it for a while on my TV, then I'll give portable mode a try. I never start a game in portable mode. Unless it's like
it depends on how. If it's a cinematic game or a story-based game like Xenoblade 3, I never. Unless I'm just doing like enemy killing and stuff. If it's a story like cutscene, it's gotta be docked, bro.
Yeah. Do we see anything Zelda in the Direct?
No.
You take that back.
Well, I mean, like nothing Zelda, maybe not. Maybe something Zelda related. That's not Tears of the Kingdom, but nothing Tears of the Kingdom related.
Yeah,
unless there's amiibo update or something.
This is another thing I'm kind of stuck on because I think we should get Twilight Princess and Moon Maker if we're not getting Tears of the Kingdom DLC. But I also think it doesn't make sense to announce them now because since they're already games that existed on Wii U that were already enhanced, like why would you announce remasters with like a 4-month wait.
Just wait to give us 4K 60 FPS versions of the game.
Or just have them come out in the first half of next year to help the wait.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of see that happening. That's my take. But that wouldn't have to be announced until next year, early next year. It doesn't have to be announced now. So that's kind of
maybe announced close to the
weird
release.
part I'm in.
Maybe even Shadow Drop or close to it.
Potentially. Yeah, I think there's going to be at least. I think to summarize my predictions, Mario Kart. Well, actually, Splatoon DLC. Do we finally get info on that?
Yeah, Splatoon 3 single player DLC. I think we'll see a glimpse of what's going down with that. We're not sure when next year it will release, but I
think we'll
assume
get
it
a
will be
release
first
date.
half. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it will be early next year because it's
Yeah.
definitely not. They're not going to wait for Switch 2 for that.
Because they have to start dating next year, right? So I think we get the release date for Peach. I think we get the release date for Splatoon Side Order, and they need to do more than that. There's got to be at least one more game that's dated. Maybe it's that F-Zero GX remaster.
Maybe
Mario vs. Donkey Kong is also, like a March or April game. So, and going back to the Twilight Princess Wind Waker thing, if they bundle it together and there are some changes, maybe I could see that. If it's something a little bit more substantial than just kind of ripping them from Wii U and putting them on Switch, then maybe it does warrant a little bit of a marketing window that extends from this Direct to early next year. It's possible. So I'm throwing it out there. But yeah, that's pretty much my expectations for the Direct. That's it. Well, one thing I'll throw out there, Fire Emblem The Genealogy War may be announced during this Direct. So Fire Emblem remake is supposed to come to Switch. I think they wrapped up the Engage DLC quickly for a reason. So there's a great chance it's announced during this Direct and it comes out January or something like that. Right. I think that's very conceivable. So, yeah.
I think we'll see some third-party announcements as well, obviously. But I imagine that anything that would run like poorly on Switch is not going to be announced. Like I don't think we're going to be seeing ports like The Witcher 3 where they run like less than like 540p or less even in docked mode. I think we're going to see some more like easier conversions, good games, maybe in some bigger games that are big deals, but they're going to be like easier conversions to do because I think all the effort that they want to put into big conversions, they'll just wait for Switch 2. There's no reason to release something like The Witcher 3 right now, whereas you could release a much, much better version on Switch 2, get a lot more sales, a lot more interest in that, instead of trying to sell a very compromised third-party port on Switch for like maybe a year at most.
All right, I'm posing a question to the poll. I'm posing a poll to the chat.
Right.
Pikmin 4 DLC. Will it be announced in the Direct?
Oh, that's very interesting.
I'm putting this out there to kind of open up the Q&A because I think we're pretty much we've done our predictions. We could start making wild random guesses, but
while you're typing that up, I'm going to be right back.
Well, I already typed it up, but that's okay.
Oh, well,
I'll just
be right back.
That's fine. I'll just get to the chat. So that's
cool,
where we're at now. Yeah. All right. So I am now focusing on the chat, guys. So your questions, start adding me, sending me messages, what have you. I'm focused on it. I would like Pikmin 4 DLC, especially because they're not giving me Tears of the Kingdom DLC. Looking through the chat here. Wilberforce Wooster. I don't know if Prime 4 is selling much more than Dread unless it is a Switch 2 launch title captive audience. I think another reason why I want Prime 4 to be cross-gen is because I want to enjoy the Switch audience, but I also want it to be like a big deal game for Switch 2 and maybe catch a little bit of that evergreen status and legs throughout the Switch 2 life. Because to your point, if it only comes out for Switch and there's all this hype for Switch 2 that it may be kind of like, all right, some people will buy the game like before Switch 2, but like it may not get it'll be forgotten.
Right.
So
you're talking about
you're back.
Prime 4?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it makes more sense in terms of its sales potential to be a cross-gen game. So I would actually be a little bit disappointed if it's just a Switch title for that reason. Which also, again, as I said earlier, if it's a cross-gen title, they don't have to show it in this Direct, but I really hope they do.
Yeah, because they could do like a 4K update patch later or something, but it wouldn't have the impact. Having a really big showcase title near the launch or at the launch of Switch with the cross-gen release would have a huge impact on both systems. So I think that's a much smarter move. You don't take this long to make this game and then just be like, we're just gonna release it like a few months before the Switch 2 and just kill it. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, they could do DLC stuff to kind of keep it, but it's. I feel like
Yeah,
it's
but
less impactful. It's just less.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's nowhere near the impact. Like DLC for Metroid Prime, like fans of the game are gonna want to be excited for that, right? But that's not gonna draw in a new audience. I don't think it's really
yeah,
gonna resurgence the game in the way that the cross-gen
yeah.
release would benefit it.
Something I didn't make into a topic that was that came up during the Nate the Hate podcast was Switch to release timing or reveal timing, and March came up.
Right. But I wasn't
Yeah,
sure. They weren't sure if
yeah,
March was the release or the announcement. I imagine it's the announcement because
yeah. I
the
would like to.
system would already need to be probably announced
I mean,
or close
Brandon,
to it.
you can vouch for me. I think we literally talked about this last week. I think Switch 2 is getting announced next March.
Yep. We did talk about this, yeah.
It closes out the fiscal year. It excites investors. It's late enough into the year that it won't make people who bought a Switch feel burned, right? But it's also early enough into the year that they can kick off a strong marketing cycle and still come out with Switch 2 with some months to spare in the year to have a strong lineup going to the holiday. So I think that's the best time for it to be announced.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. If it comes out in March, because apparently it's like a little bit of doubt about what the March timing is, that would be insane. I think that would mean we're an announcement's like right around the corner.
Yeah, they would need to announce it very soon, like next month.
Yeah, but I guess the other thing to consider here is that with that, like we're hearing about the tech demos, but the tech demos aren't technically running the hardware from what we're hearing. It's just kind of like it's kind of like what the target specs. Exactly. So if that's what we're seeing, does that really imply it's going to come out in March?
I mean, maybe they may have just not wanted to bring a development kit there just to not show off the hardware. They just wanted to show off the software, so they just brought a PC. It may also be the exact type of PC they're using to build the game, so it's like an actual development kit PC with actual target specs. Yeah. So I would assume it was something similar to that at least, and not just like, oh, we built a random PC that's kind of close, I guess. That wouldn't make any sense. But yeah, I could definitely see them just not wanting to show off the actual hardware and everything, all the new features. They just want to show the graphics. Like, this is just what the hardware is capable of. That's it. We're not showing you anything else.
Yeah. Shout outs to Favlam in the chat. We're supposed to do a podcast together. We actually recorded one yesterday and I screwed it up.
No.
I didn't press the record button. I thought I did. Because my OBS had the red record button. I'm sorry. Please subscribe to Favlam, and we will do a podcast. But what's up, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, well, we were trying out something I wasn't used to. It was a virtual camera. I've never used that, and when I clicked that, it says it's recording. So I thought I was, and I clicked the record button. I guess I must have missed it. So it was like a double, like, weird thing that occurred. So when I checked to see if I was recording, I saw the red record button on. So I was like, oh, okay, we're good. But I didn't know that the virtual camera does the same thing. So yeah, I screwed it up. But there will be a podcast that we're gonna do. It'll be on his channel, and you guys better watch it. So check out his channel. Makes great content. Check out his Twitch as well. And yeah, that'll happen. Anyways, looking through the chat here, I'm seeing that the poll is not going in my favor, and I don't like that. But I'm glad you guys are being honest. Damn it.
I don't know what to vote.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
I'm just going to vote what I want.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you're showing your bias.
Unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do when there's no, like, I can't really do much other than just be biased, in my opinion, right? There's not enough factual information to inform my opinion. So I'm just going to be biased. Might as well.
Yeah. King Dragon Official. People acting like a March release would destroy holiday sales. It wouldn't.
No.
Or rather, an October-November reveal, right? Because a March release would imply an October-November reveal of Switch 2. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do think it would impact sales. However, I
which is good.
also think that there's truth in what you're saying. I do think this is a scenario where Nintendo could get away with it. Because I think at this stage, a lot of people are buying Switches or buying like the special editions and things like that, and aren't necessarily interested in a higher spec model at this stage, especially if Switch 2 is going to be kind of touted as like a premier model, and they're still going to have Switch relevant for a few years, right? So if you're looking for like a $200 Switch or something, then what they could do is announce a price drop for Switch going into the holiday. And that would actually improve sales, and it would position them to come out with Switch 2 as the premier $400 model or something. Like, I think that is definitely something that could work. However, because they've already announced bundles and things of that nature, like I don't think that's what's happening anymore. I think we're past the point of them announcing a price drop going into the holidays. And I don't think it's happening. But I a couple months ago, I was open to the idea of it. I thought it was possible. Not anymore. So
Yeah, there's always a small possibility, but nah, at this point it definitely would impact sales. There's just so much hype around Switch 2. I think when Switch 2 gets announced, there's going to be a certain part of the audience that felt the same way about the 3DS as they do, like when the Switch was releasing, as they do for the Switch. And they're just gonna be like, I don't want to play games on this. I want to play. I'm all about the Switch 2 now. Like, I'm gonna be like that. I'm gonna be like, new games releasing on Switch. Stop. Just release it on Switch 2. Stop doing that.
Which
and obviously, there's not
the Prime 4 thing, right? If Prime 4 comes out like say like May or June, and Switch 2's coming out like August or September, like, that's kind of the tricky part. So I think I'm talking myself into like almost entirely leading it's cross gen, but we don't know until we know. So
we don't know.
We don't know,
but there is hope.
Yeah, looking through. I
think it makes the most sense.
Yes, I agree. Looking through the chat, Risky Gumiar, Andres, do you think Nintendo will ever put Mother 3 on NSO?
Yes.
I think Nintendo will put Mother 3 on the Nintendo Switch eShop. I do not know if it'll be on NSO.
That might be an interesting compromise.
Yeah. Well, it was available in Japan, right? We just never got the localization. So, are there any NSO games that are kind of like, for example, is Star Fox 2 on NSO? I don't think it is.
No.
And Star Fox 2 never released, right, until they came out with the SNES Classic. So
yeah,
I got to
check the release in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for them doing stuff like that, though, right? Like I want more of that. In fact,
it would be interesting.
If you want to make up for the booster course pass thing, doing things like that, like maybe it's not even like on a specific app. It's just like, hey, here is Mother 3. You can buy it in the eShop, but it's also free for NSO members. Here's Star Fox 2. It's free for expansion pack members, but it's still available on the eShop for purchase. Like stuff like that would be really cool. So.
With the remake of Super Mario RPG, which is something that's like near Mother 3 levels of like crazy out there to predict. Like that is a wild thing. The fact that that's happening is insane. The fact that we might be getting an F-Zero resurgence is insane. So the idea that Mother 3 could happen it seems like, maybe it could. I definitely think eventually, within our lifetimes, we'll see Mother 3 on a Nintendo hardware, but I'm hoping sometime relatively
What's
soon.
interesting about that, I kind of like that thinking though. Like maybe it's not even just like the game localized. It's like it's a reimagining, a remake of it. Like I'm all for.
Yeah, and that could get around some of the issues they have with the game that way.
I would even love like a remake trilogy.
Oh yeah, remake it in like a claymation style, like they were gonna do for the N64 game that got canned.
Yeah. Oh, I mean that now you're getting me more excited. Like, what if they made it like a 3D RPG adventure? Because that's what it was initially going to be. You know, instead they stuck with the Game Boy graphics. But
even so, if they do,
I'll take whatever it is. I'll take it. So
even if it's not like 3D movement, like being able to whip the camera around or anything, just having it like a 3D. Like claymation style or any kind of cool animation style would be nice. Just having 3D assets.
Sure, like the top-down perspective would still look cool. Like Link's Awakening style almost. Like that would look great. I agree. I mean, the Mario RPG is very similar to that, actually. So
Yeah,
yeah,
very.
yeah, and I think it does look good. So I'd be for that. I'd be okay with that. I see we have a super chat here. A couple actually. So
Nice.
yeah, TLK777. Thank you for the super chat. Want new multiplayer Zelda? Can it happen?
Ooh, yeah.
I don't see why not. I think if anything, in this day and age, a Four Swords style
Perfect for
game
Switch.
would work better now than it did in the past. Yeah, like totally. Especially because like the Switch has the Joy Cons, like you got the co-op
Yeah.
play, like I think Four Swords makes more sense more than ever. So I want it, and I do think it can happen. It's really just a matter of time. I think
It's
maybe that's
definitely
one
an
thing we
option
get.
for something to fill in between now and the next 3D Zelda.
Exactly. That's you took the words right out of my mouth. So I say yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it will happen. Whether it will happen, soon or even I think within the Switch 2 his lifetime, it could definitely happen. Honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, but we could see something.
Sooner or later. Yeah. Got another super chat here from Is R3 Light. How you doing? Thank you for the super chat. They say, I know Nintendo won't, but how crazy would it be if Nintendo announced the Switch 2 as a one more thing at the end of the Direct? Also, will Switch 2 be part of the Switch family of systems? Interesting questions here. And yeah, I mean, I understand you don't think it'll actually happen, but
Right.
how crazy would it be? It would be crazy.
I would be
It
hyped.
would
I'd be screaming.
bonkers. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the why it would be so crazy because we don't expect it, right? If you don't expect it, like that's like a huge shock surprise. And now
So
it
that
gets
would
me
make
even.
it S tier direct for me for sure.
Oh, well, that would change everything. And then they say coming out March. I'd be like, oh my god!
I'd be like, I had to save up my doubloons.
Yeah, and then it's like Metroid Prime 4 launch title. I'd be like, what the hell? Like
and then they show off a little bit Tears of the Kingdom at 4K or something. We'll be
Oh,
like, oh my gosh.
man. I'll probably my voice will be shot. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we'd both be screaming.
Yeah, it would be insane. It would be insane. By the way, I will be live streaming the Direct, so
yeah,
that'll be Wednesday. We're
I'll be
assuming
off.
it's Wednesday. We don't actually know, but we're assuming it's Wednesday. So Brandon and I will live stream it together. Yeah, so it will be bonkers. We don't expect it though. But there's another part to your question. Also, will Switch be part of the Switch family of systems? With what we're hearing about these specs, I think Nintendo's going to treat it as a next-gen system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of tricky how they're going to market it because I think it's also going to be pricey. I think it's going to be a $400 device. I have a hard time seeing them coming down to $300 when we're selling Switch OLEDs at $350 right now. I have a hard time seeing that. So I kind of feel like the entire Switch family is going to get like a $50 to $100 price drop early next year, and Switch 2 is going to come out at $399.99 USD. That's what I think. If you account for inflation, it's actually not that much more expensive than what the Switch was.
No. And this will be a much more comparable machine that's actually, tailored for Nintendo. This isn't an off-the-shelf chip.
Yeah.
It's going to be custom made for the Switch's specific use case.
Yeah. Now, the tricky part is that $400, like maybe you think, oh, well, is that going to be mainstream enough? I don't know if
it will.
Maybe they go down to $350. Maybe they do $350 and everything's dropped, and all the other Switches are dropped by $100.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I could see something like that maybe happening. And so my main point is that, I'm not sure how they would market or brand it exactly, but I do think the Switch, at least the Switch OLED and Switch Lite will coexist with the Switch 2 for a little while, which will enable Switch sales to continue to improve and maybe eventually become the best-selling system of all time.
Right. I imagine they'll stop producing the original, non-OLED Switch, just the Miracle Better Battery Life version. I think they'll just discontinue that. Just have the OLED as their base model, and then the light as the other model, and then that'll just keep selling that until they discontinue those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, that's kind of what we think so far. All right, so let's see here. The God Karibo 11 added me. Have you seen that Luigi's Casino and Kid Icarus Fallen Angels leak? Do you think that's real? I saw it on Twitter. Well, I have not seen that.
No, I am having trouble even forming in my mind what that would be exactly.
All right, so I'm gonna, without even seeing it, my gut reaction is it's fake. But I'm going to Google this Kid Icarus. If I Google it, will it pop up for me? Fallen Angels leak. If you DM me on Twitter, I can double check it. Although I think that they've now limited what people can send.
You may not allow links to be sent in YouTube as well on your own end. I'm not sure.
All right, so I see a YouTube video for Kid Icarus Fallen Angels. All right, is there any? I don't believe this. I don't even know if I should watch it. I don't believe this. I was gonna share it, but I don't think I should. All right, I'll just mute it and play it. Kid Icarus Fallen Angels will release in summer of 2025. First, there'll be a VR title, however, it can be played at 4K DLS. First of all, no, this is fake. It's fake. It's so fake. You wouldn't know about the release time of a game that far out. You just wouldn't. It's fake. I'm sorry.
Sorry to disappoint you guys.
Yeah. There's a lot of Nintendo Direct leaks out there. Let's see about the Luigi's Casino thing. Twitter user leaks logo for Luigi's Casino game. It's a very basic looking logo.
Can you share it?
No.
Oh.
Yes, I'm kidding. I don't believe this.
It looks like the kind of logo you'd see in the Direct itself.
Yeah, I could fake this. I can make this. This is not.
Yeah, it could be fake for sure.
I would love a Luigi's Casino game, whatever that would be. I would be down for
to be fair,
I don't believe it.
Any logo can be faked because somebody made it at some point with just
Yeah, I need more than this, so I don't believe it. But I would love to be wrong. I don't think there's really space for Nintendo to announce another Luigi game right now.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah, because there's so many other Mario stuff on the way, and we already have a Luigi's Mansion game coming, so I have strong doubt.
Yeah, that doesn't even look like the real logo for the game. That looks like the special logo you only see in the Nintendo Direct, and then they show the real one later.
Maybe so, yeah. Could be a placeholder logo.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at the poll. It's been up for 20 minutes, 67 votes. Let's end the poll. It's clear who's the winner here. So I asked, Pikmin 4 DLC. 67% of you said no. 33% of you said yes.
Sad days.
Yeah,
I voted yes because that's what I want, even though I haven't actually done all the content in Pikmin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't finished it.
I think that
close to the main campaign. 100%.
You could argue that because it seems like we're ending the Switch generation, that there's less reason to come out with DLC to give these games legs, and they're just kind of transitioning over development to their next big projects.
Give them DLC on the next system with a 4K update. They're 4K 60 FPS Pikmin 4 with new levels, bro.
Yeah. I'm all for it, but I mean they could save the DLC, right? Maybe they wait a little bit.
Right.
That's possible. Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to put the poll for if Metroid Prime 4 show up in the Direct, because I think too much of it are going to think with our hearts here, because I did that last time, and the majority of us said yes for Prime 4 in the June Direct, and it was wrong. So I'm going to spare ourselves the the heartbreak. But hey, maybe we're wrong about that Pikmin 4 DLC. So we'll see on that. But I think we're pretty much at the end here. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Brandon, before we call it a night?
I don't know. But I think the Switch 2, bro. I just can't wait till I see it. That's overall of everything we talked about. Like the Switch 2 is the biggest deal for me. Like the fact that it's going to be pushing actual next gen quality visuals is big. And one thing we have to keep in mind is this is Nintendo's system, but this is also Nvidia's system. And Nvidia hasn't done mobile hardware targeting gaming in a long time. Like it's been since the Tegra X1 since they've done this. So they're also going to want to be showing off the latest and what they can do. And Nvidia is top class in ray tracing, in upscaling of resolution, in frame generation, and all these features that a lot of other, like AMD doesn't even have frame generation out. They're coming out with it eventually, but they don't even have that. Their upscaling is not even close to as good. Their ray tracing is crap compared to Nvidia's. So Nvidia is going to want to be coming out with a device that shows off their features. And even though it's not going to be, where the case where third-party ports are going to be the exact same as PS5 and Xbox Series X versions, we're going to get some versions that are going to look really good, and they're going to be tailored for the Switch's power, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I share your sentiments. I think Switch 2 it's gonna be a real special thing. I'm very excited for what it's gonna be able to do. Absolutely. But on the note of the Direct, I so badly want it to be Metroid Prime 4.
I mean, hey, I'd be super hyped.
So badly. I'm not asking for a giant. I'm just asking for like a teaser. Just confirm the release year. Just or even I mean, if they don't give us a release year, I think it's not coming out next year. But like if they were to show Prime 4 and they don't give us a release year, I think it's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like that would just be great. I'm not asking for anything super substantial. Just give me something. That would be great. And if it's not Prime 4, like I think that they're gonna. I think they got something for the Direct. And I think F-Zero is gonna be there. I think that's gonna be hype. Like listen. I haven't listened to the F-Zero music, and F-Zero GX is my favorite racing game ever. So a remaster of that would be the bee's knees. Like it would just make me so happy. We'll see what happens, but I anticipate that Direct will have some good stuff. I do think that it is smart to temper expectations somewhat, though.
For sure,
we are reaching the end of a generation. Nintendo's not going to be announcing all of their biggest projects because they're saving them for Switch 2. But it would be nice if they could at least show one that will be relevant during the Switch 2 era, that it'll be cross-gen, so they can give us something to be excited about, and it helps the transition.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I think this Direct is gonna be mostly void of any major announcements in terms of like brand new AAA games that they've been working on for years, other than maybe Prime 4 or Donkey Kong. Like it's gonna have like one or two of those at most, right? Not gonna be full of those. But that doesn't mean you can't get good stuff like F-Zero GX Remaster. Well, Andres, that would be like a showstopper for you. In the grand scheme of things, that's not a big deal for Nintendo. That's a small project. That's something that they can definitely come out with in Direct shortly before the Switch 2, in the last year. So, we could still get some great announcements. There's just not going to be something that's like all the budget, from the biggest Nintendo IPs,
Right. Exactly.
But we might
at the
see
very
one
least,
game.
The Peach game looks like a good game. Like that, I think we're gonna get more details on the Peach game, and that's cool. Like that, I'm excited to see even just that. So I think we're gonna get more than that. But that's something cool to see.
Yeah, and again, that's not a huge game, but it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. I do see here. I got another super chat. thank you, is our 3 light. Very much appreciated. Quick statement, and probably not a popular one, but I enjoyed Pikmin 4 more than Tears of the Kingdom. Also,
Ah,
my name is said like Israelite. Okay, Israelite. There,
makes sense.
got it. I remember it was ASAP Row, right? So, but Israelite, I'll keep that in mind. I played a video about a month or so ago saying talking about how some people like Pikmin 4 more than Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not one of them, but I thought it was a valid conversation to have. And a lot of people were like, "How dare you even suggest the possibility?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'm not saying I think that, but some people
I mean,
do. It's
I
a
had more consistent fun playing Pikmin 4 than I did with Tears of the Kingdom, so I guess I probably also agree with this statement. I probably do enjoy Pikmin 4 more than Tears of the Kingdom. Honestly, when I'm thinking about which one I want to play, because both of them I have content I have not finished, I 100% want to play Pikmin 4, and I don't really want to play Tears of the Kingdom again right at this second.
I want to play both, though. Yeah, but right now I've been on a Big Bang Theory binge recently.
I
I don't
haven't
know.
seen that show.
I keep seeing shorts of it on the internet, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna see what's going on. So there you go. And then I'll get back to One Piece. Yeah, but I do plan on. I still haven't 100% of Pikmin 4 or Tears of the Kingdom. I need to, and I plan on doing that for both, minus the Koroks. So, anyways, I think we've reached the end of tonight's discussion. I actually feel pretty proud of ourselves, Brandon, because
Yeah.
we're only at about a little bit over 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we covered a lot of content.
Oh yeah, this would
So
normally be a 3 or 4 hour podcast for us.
yeah, so I think we did a good job. I think we're maybe not super concise, but relatively, and we have a big week ahead of us. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
If there is a direct announce tomorrow, there will for sure be a video about something tomorrow. I'll figure
9
that out
a.m.
probably tomorrow
CST,
morning.
guys. Look out.
Yeah, and there will be a live stream for this potential direct. We will live stream it. We will talk about. There will be discussions, analysis, graphics comparisons. Like Brandon and I are prepared to go ham. So
Yep.
It's gonna be hype. Anyways, guys, that's all for now. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.